Behind me right here is my ride-on mower that Amazon just delivered. Sort of. I actually ordered this on Amazon, free shipping, and what they do is they contract it out to a freight line. This was Old Dominion Freight, and they call you, schedule a delivery. They showed up this morning. The guy was great enough to, because I have a narrow driveway on a narrow road, he parked at the end, he put it on a pallet jack, wheeled it all the way up right in front of my garage. Free shipping from Amazon, a 700-pound ride-on mower. I think that's kind of wild that you can do that right now. So, yeah, I'm going to take it apart and put it together now.
Now, you may be wondering why I'm going to review a lawnmower on a tech channel, and there's two reasons for that. One of them being, for whatever reason, the majority of the people in this office call me dad, so the product category seems pretty fitting. And the second reason is this is one of only a handful of fully electric ride-on lawnmowers out there. So I have just over an acre of property, and for the sake of saving time, a ride-on mower just seemed to be the best option. But with that comes a price tag. From the 4 or 5 different companies out there, I would say the average price of a ride-on electric mower is right around $4,000 to $5,000, with maybe the lowest end you could get is right around $3,000. So the Ego Z6 42-inch model, which is the lowest model they offer, comes in at around $5,500, although it's very easy to find it around $5,000. And besides my house and my car, this is easily the most money I've ever spent. It took me probably over a year to finally convince myself that I've done enough research, that it's time to pull the trigger and go for it. So here we are. I've been using my Ego Z6 for 1 to 2 months now. I've probably mowed the grass 3 or 4 times. And I just wanted to make this quick video to write down some of my thoughts, some of the things I was skeptical about, all my experiences in case, maybe you're looking to pull the trigger on this, or even if you're just wondering how tech kind of inches its way into different categories.
All right, I have it all out of the frame that it came with in shipping. You can kind of see it back here in my driveway. I'm really happy that it comes brand new. I think if you get it from Lowe's, you'd probably get a floor model. So I'm very happy that I have things brand new in the plastic and nobody was sitting in it before. It's still bolted onto this frame on the bottom, some zip ties. I have to get all of that off, roll it off. And then I think all I really have to do is put the seat on and put the handlebars on and charge up the batteries, and then we'll give it a shot.
Now, here's my first complaint. On all of Ego's ride-on lawnmowers, there are space for 6 batteries, except every single one of them only comes with 4. To their credit, all of their listings, the estimated range that all these mowers can get are based on the 4 batteries that are included. But Ego, hear me out. You're charging way too much money for these mowers to not include all of the batteries. I just think it's crazy, especially when these 10 amp batteries that they come with are $500 a piece. So you're spending an extra $1,000 just to get the full range out of these. Imagine you buy an iPhone and you have to spend an extra $1,000 to unlock the last 30% of battery you have. It's not cool. Even though I have a couple extra batteries from my leaf blower and my string trimmer, I'm going to do this whole review based on the 4 batteries that are included, just so you know what you're getting just based on what you order. I do have to say I really like the charging system and the way they use the batteries in this mower, rather than just, one giant battery that the mower uses and you plug in. You have your 6 different slots in the back, which do work with other batteries. So I have a 2.5 amp and a 5 amp. And what I actually do is I place both of those inside the mower when it's charging. So at the same time, I'm charging the mower and the battery for my string trimmer and the battery for my leaf blower, all with just one plug. Ego Power 42-inch Z6 uses Peak Power Plus technology to combine the power of up to 6 56-volt arc lithium batteries that can give you the equivalent of a 22 horsepower gas engine and can cut up to 2 acres on the included 4 batteries. The Z6 can go 3 to 7 miles per hour in its 3 different driving modes: control, standard, and sport. It's powered by 4 independent brushless motors, 2 for the blades and 2 for the independently powered rear wheels that gives it zero-turn capabilities. So if you're familiar with lawnmowers, zero-turn is nothing new, but if you're not and you're wondering why I keep using that term, essentially all it means is each handle lets each wheel go forward or backwards independently. So if you're at the end of your cutting line, you can go back on one, forward on the other, and you'll actually turn the mower 180 degrees stationary, which makes it super easy to go straight back down your next line, makes it really easy to cut tight corners around a tree or shrubbery or landscaping. Just overall, it makes the control on it much nicer. You also have an easy deck height adjustment on the right side to choose the grass height, anywhere from 1.5 to 4.5 inches. Seat's super comfortable. You can adjust it forward and backwards. It also has suspension stiffness that you can dial in. I have to say, it's super comfortable. 30 minutes of mowing is absolutely no problem. You also get a couple nice little touches for you as the driver. There's a phone holder on the right, which holds your phone super tight, no risk of it falling out. And also a compartment on your left that has a USB charger in case you need to charge something, and a cup holder because you should always stay hydrated when mowing. If you don't have the blade running, the only real noise you're making is some minor motor whine, and it's kind of wild how quiet it is. But once you turn the blade on, it's going to change everything. No matter how electric it is, a blade running cutting grass is going to make noise no matter what. So don't expect to go mow your lawn at 5 o'clock in the morning without your neighbor being kind of upset. While it might not be much faster in total speed as a gas-powered lawnmower going like 7 miles an hour, the initial acceleration is quick. It's an electric motor. I think we can all expect that. I've left it on sport mode when I was filming this and pushed it full blast and actually wound up leaving tire marks on my driveway doing zero turns. So that was fun. If you have a really flat lot with some really straight lines on it, like sport mode might save you that extra time, but right now I have to make a lot of turns. My yard's kind of weird, and in control mode's plenty fast, and it's eating up way less battery than sport mode. So for me, I will probably 99% of the time cut my lawn in the lowest setting. Cutting it has been a breeze so far. I have to say, out of the 4 times I've cut it, 3 of them I've ended with over 20% battery left. And the 4th time, the only reason it died is because it was when I was filming most of this video. So I probably spent 3 to 4 times longer driving back and forth, setting up cameras, grabbing cameras. I was up on my roof getting cameras. So it was running way longer than it needed to be. And I still finished 95% of my lawn. And the nice thing about that is at 5%, it actually cuts the power to the blades to make sure you have enough power to get back to your charging spot. It kind of reminded me of like a DJI drone where it needs to have enough battery to return to home from wherever you are, because knowing me, if I saw 5%, I would have ran that to probably 1% and then tried to make it back and probably would have died on the way to my garage. So I actually think that's kind of a nice feature. So like I mentioned before, I cut almost always on control mode, although in each mode, you still have 4 different options for motor speed and you have 4 different options for blade speed. The majority of the time, I'm cutting at a 2 on motor speed and a 2 on blade speed. I just assume it's more efficient. I've had no issues with it. I've bumped the blade speed up a couple times for some thicker, damper grass that I've had. But overall, I'm sure 90% of the time, I'll be cutting at 2 speed in control mode and should have no problems with that. But if you do decide to go at a higher speed, one thing you really need to be careful with, especially in sport mode, is when you're making those 180-degree turns. If the grass is wet at all, if you spin too fast or at full speed, it's really easy to create a skid mark and just rip up grass when you're turning. So be careful if you're doing that. There's a couple other neat automatic features it does as well. The first one being it will adjust your blade speed based on how much grass it feels like it's cutting. So there have been a few times where it's been damp and pretty tall grass, and there's a little meter above the battery percentage that you can see the blade speed spinning up a little higher to try and get through some of those tough patches. And then after that, it'll run down when it feels like it's on normal grass again to whatever your setting was. Now, in case you're cutting something that's way too damp or way too tall and it's really gunking up the blades on the inside, there is an overload feature where it'll blink red and shut the blades off. So what I found is that I just back it up to a spot that I've already cut, initiate the blade again so it kind of throws all the grass off and declutters, and then go right back into it, usually going a little bit slower just to realizing that that's a harder place to mow, and it's always worked fine. There's also a safety feature where if you happen to get out of the seat while the blade's running, it'll cut all the blades and make you reactivate them. I'm sure this is pretty standard in a lot of mowers. I haven't really used many other ones, but it's just nice to know something that dangerous automatically gets turned off if you have to like hop out of your seat and pick up a big piece of debris and throw it out of the way, or even just if someone else is riding your mower, it's good to know that that blade won't be running if nobody's in the seat. And so through my first couple months of mowing with this, I have to say I have 0 complaints so far. And I'm really surprised by that, to be honest. Like I said, this is first gen company that's never really tackled a ride-on mower before, and it's super expensive. I was worried. I was straight up worried buying this, and I was expecting some complaints. In fact, there was one point the first time I mowed the lawn that I was so expecting something to be wrong. When I first looked at the screen, it had kind of this rainbow sheen over it that looked like water got into it already, despite only ever being in my garage, and I was furious. I was so mad about it. I cut the whole lawn. Everything seemed like it was working fine, but I was so mad that something already was a little bit off, only to realize when I got into my garage, I took off my polarized sunglasses and it was just, the screen looked weird with the polarization. So I was expecting something to be wrong and it wasn't. And I'm very happy it wasn't. Now, even though everything's gone perfect so far, I've only had it for 2 months. I've only used it 4 times. My biggest reluctancy of purchasing something this expensive is just overall durability and some of the reviews online. It seems like there have been plenty of people who have gotten a unit that's a total dud when they get it. There's some horror stories about if they do have any issues, they have to send it really far away and get it towed there. There's software updates that I've seen of totally bricked machines. And it sounds like the customer support is iffy at best. And honestly, that scares me. Now, it's worth noting there's a 5-year warranty on the product itself, on the battery, and on the battery charger, which makes me a little more relieved. There have been plenty of videos that I've seen that make this all look like it's been working perfectly for them. And as somebody who's been using Ego tools for 3 or 4 years now, like, they've been perfect. I'm expecting this to be perfect too. But one of the benefits about going electric is that you don't have to pay for gas. And to make up that $2,000 to $3,000 more I'm spending on electric over gas powered, I need this thing to last 10 years, I would say. If this doesn't last for 10 years, I won't be happy. And that's always the question mark over these first gen products that you're spending a lot of money on, is longevity. But in order to really have a feel for longevity, it needs to be out for the amount of years that you want it to last. And 10 years from now, I probably should have bought a lawnmower already. So I took the risk. I hope it works out. I've got a good feeling about it, but we'll see what happens. Now, why take that risk? I guess there are plenty of mowers out there for $2,500, for $3,000, for a few $1,000s cheaper than what I paid for this. And I do think there are a couple electric benefits that I really, really preferenced over getting a gas-powered lawnmower. I think the biggest one is gas, not only having to pay for gas each time, but not having to store gas in my garage. I use my garage for a lot of different things, and it smelling like gas would make those things far less enjoyable. I also don't have to worry about oil changes. I know absolutely nothing about engines or transmissions or belts and any of that. I don't need to replace any of those things. This is essentially zero maintenance. And the last thing is all these batteries are compatible within the same ecosystem. So with the tools I already have and the tools that I'm planning on buying in the future, if I'm in this ecosystem, this will all benefit me in the future. And these batteries are not cheap. I do think if you're looking at buying a ride-on mower, you do have to think about the personal use case for this. I am only using this for my yard. My yard is relatively small in terms of using a ride-on mower. And if you're looking at commercial use, I don't think this is the one for you. For multiple properties where you would need multiple batteries at $500 a piece, you are going to be spending $10,000 easily just to get a full day's use out of this. And I think there's probably way more commercial mowers out there that are way more intact with what you need. Part of me almost wants to compare this to like an F-150 Lightning versus a regular F-150. You kind of hit that space where if you're just using this personally, you tow every once in a while, you have some stuff that you'd like to put in the bed of a truck that wouldn't fit in a regular SUV, then electric's a great way to go. And there's a lot of fun new things about it that's super beneficial. But if you're towing every day, you're using this for commercial work, you are carrying giant payloads that's going to super hurt the range, like sticking with your regular gas-powered F-150 is definitely the way to go. So with all of that out of the way, so far I've been really happy with my purchase decision. I know it's expensive. Like I said, this is the most I've ever spent on a product before. So my standards were very high. I was very picky about how I was using this, but I've thoroughly enjoyed it. And as long as that enjoyment stays with me for X amount of years, 5, hopefully 10 years, I can highly recommend this, and I really have my fingers crossed that everything works out good. There's a bunch of attachments I'm looking forward to getting in the future. Like I said, there's a bunch of other Ego tools that they have in the future. In fact, I'm probably going to replace my string trimmer because they have a new one that auto feeds string at the bottom. I wish that was out when I bought mine before, but as long as this all goes, as long as it all stays reliable, I'm super happy, and I think it's super worth spending the little bit more upfront versus buying a gas powered for cheaper, but then having to buy gas every time you use it. So that about wraps it up. Let me know if you've used any Ego products, if you've used this mower before, or I'm super interested if anyone's used any of the other electric ride-on mowers, especially Cub Cadet, because I was so close to buying one last year. It was like $3,500, but it seems like all their prices went up. I was very interested in the fact that it was a legacy lawn mowing manufacturer that then just went EV. So like, to me, that feels potentially more reliable. But since the prices went up and since I'm already in the Ego ecosystem, that's where I wound up going. But I'd love to know if you've had any experience. Thanks for checking out this video. It may not be exactly what you're expecting, but don't worry, subscribe to the studio channel. We have some really fun ones coming up that are a little less niche than a lawnmower, a little more tech focused. But thanks a lot. Have a good one. Peace.